Commence primary ignition.
Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, and all those terrible Jay and Silent Bob type pictures, and you're watching the Virtual Cantina Network, ladies and gentlemen. Watch your arm.
You know, if I knew the Clerks movies and the other and Silent Bob movies, like a lot of like Spencer or some of the other guys that in the group do, I might appreciate that more. I appreciate that he's a very successful guy, but beyond that, I'm just like, yeah, he's a Star Wars fan. So,
oh yeah, that's best how I think we know him. But for me, Dogma, man, that movie.
Yeah, I've heard, and I've not watched one of his movies. I've seen little clips of them, when they on from time to time, but never watched a full Kevin Smith movie. It's like people go, "You've never."
Don't tell him that he's going to reverse this bumper.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Clone Wars Revisited. Yes, Sarah, I understand that Dogma is the best. And tonight we are doing Season 3, Episode 15, Overlords. Yes, we are getting into the wonderful Mortis a story arc that everybody loves so much. The heart of the Filoni / Lucas universe is the Mortis universe. And heaven forbid that you want Dave Filoni to ever explain this, because I think his standard answer is, it means what you want it to mean.
Mm-hmm. From a certain point of view, it can mean whatever.
Oh, yeah. And this is a definite certain point of view.
Yeah.
So it's Mark and Skip tonight. Ashley's out. We may be getting a surprise guest a little bit later on tonight. We'll see. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a flip of a coin. He's coming. Mm-hmm. He's not coming. He's coming. He's not coming. If he comes, hey, great. If not, we won't mention his name until afterwards. And then we'll say, dude. But
we have an open invitation to someone on the network who's potentially going to pop in. It might not be this episode, but definitely during Mortis, because Mortis is a hot topic. So yeah, this is my favorite arc in all of Star Wars, not just Clone Wars, but all of Star Wars period. And that includes Rebels, which I realize is probably controversial, but Rebels didn't have arcs the same way that like Clone Wars does. So I am excited to watch this with you, Skip, because I think you don't care about Mortis the way I do. So it's you like it, but you don't love it.
I rewatch it every once in a while to go try and dig something out of it and figure it out. I much prefer the last. I always say the last 2 episodes of Clone Wars Season 7 is some of the best Star Wars content. Mm-hmm. Animation or live action doesn't matter. But I'd go as far as maybe like the last 4 or 5. I've got to think about what episode it starts where. The last 5 or 6 episodes of Clone Wars is my favorite arc. This is kind of like, okay, yeah, the meaning of the Force, but that's not how I always come out of this going, that's not how the Force works, because
I knew you were going to say it.
It's just weird.
Is it how the Force works though? It might be. We don't know.
I think it's like Lost. It's just a dream sequence,
It's certainly possible. I mean, it would be a shared hallucination, a shared hypnotic experience for sure. So it wouldn't be contained to one person. But look, mass hypnosis happens all the time, right? And it's Star Wars. Anything can kind of happen. I don't think this is objectively the best arc in all of Star Wars. I think you're right that like Ahsoka leaving the Order is probably up there, along with like Siege of Mandalore. It's my favorite because it's the weirdest, and it is actually like a little bit divisive. I remember pulling it up on IMDb. I just want to find the number again. All right. It starts tonight with Overlords, Season 3, Episode 15. 8.9 out of 10. Altar of Mortis, 8.6. And then Ghosts of Mortis, 8.9. These are not 9.9 indisputable winners, the way that you see with like, you know, the Lawless or the final few episodes as part of
That's
Siege
because
of Mandalore. You know,
some people are like me going, I'm
yeah,
not
they're
sure
going,
it
what the
makes
fuck is
sense.
this? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This isn't how the Force works.
Exactly. There's a ton of that. So we're going to get into that tonight. So we're going to actually probably start the episode earlier than we usually do and pull back on some of the general conversation to like really dive into this and talk about what we've seen, because I feel like this episode, more than most, this 3-part arc has the most meat to do like an actual analysis. Like if you're going to write about like what does Star Wars mean, this might be an arc that you can really sink your teeth into and come up with like really different answers than other people who watch it. So I'm excited to see how the chat responds. And with that in mind, let's go talk to the chat. So we've got Sarah Barnes here tonight. Hey, Sarah. Good to see you. Sarah, of course, host of Daughters of the Galaxy. Those guys are on Wednesday. The ladies are back to talk about Kathleen Kennedy. And, you know, with her retiring, very exciting. And she agrees with me. Dogma's the best out of the Kevin Smith movies. Dave, all right, Skip, you've seen Chasing Amy, right?
I have not.
Nothing Chasing Amy. Come on, man. All right.
But go for it.
Yeah. Jeff is here. Dave, I love Chasing Amy. And Sherry also loves Dogma. Okay. Obviously this is me texting. You know, we're going to Mortis, guys. Like it's gonna get so weird. What else we got over here? Oh, Sherry likes Mallrats also. Skip, have you never seen Mallrats?
And I've never, okay, so I don't know whether I said this when you and I were talking or after. I have never watched a Kevin Smith movie in its entirety. Now, I've seen like scenes of Kevin Smith movies, but I have never seen a Kevin Smith movie ever at all.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is the one that's like the meta version. Like if you've seen all the other movies, the jokes make sense, but they have a lot of Star Wars humor in there. It's also like really of its time. Like there's some like really, I don't want to say offensive gay jokes because I think they're hysterical, but other people might find them offensive. There's a lot of gay jokes in that movie, and it's almost like I think that's one of the reviews is like a 2-hour long gay joke. But like the punchlines land, at least for me, but I think I'm of that age. I feel like the 20 somethings would be like, this is really offensive, and I'm sitting here cracking up. James Vanderbeek is in it, like really randomly. Let's see. Yeah. Sarah said this is part of her rewatch that she's done. So very excited to dig into Mortis. And yeah, the deepest for sure. Yeah, Dave, it's not even deep like you're jumping into the pool. It's like deep jumping into the ocean and not realizing where it's going to stop. I feel like with a lot of the Clone Wars stuff, we do a lot of military, a lot of space battles, but from piloting, and you really get into the clones and their individual experiences. This goes in a completely different direction where it's like we're now talking about metaphysics and like the structure of the universe and what is the meaning of the Force, and is the Force can you touch it? Is it tangible? The dark and the light and the balance, what does it all mean? And then we also get interesting stuff with Ahsoka in this, like her connection to the daughter starts in this episode and then carries on with her character forever, which explains a lot of like why we are where we are with Ahsoka down the line. And I have thoughts about how this takes us to Ahsoka season 2. Oh, Dave is challenging you, Skip. I don't know how you feel about this comment, but I do want to see a fight.
This is how the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an episode of Lost, Dave. You know, they all wake up one day and go, you know, they wake up and go, wow, man, what happened to us?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Once the story ends, one, Anakin doesn't have all the memories of everything that happened. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it. But Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka remember where they were, who they interacted with, and the general beats of the 3-part arc. And they only share that information with Master Yoda. So only the 4 of them would have known what had happened and what Mortis was. So only Ahsoka, who is alive and kicking in Ahsoka season 2. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who dies in A New Hope. Anakin Skywalker, who turns to the dark side and becomes Darth Vader, and we have to assume has those memories and makes it to Return of the Jedi. And then Yoda, who also dies in Return of the Jedi. Ahsoka is the only person, in theory, who should even know what Mortis is, although Baylan Skoll is headed there, right? So Mortis as a thing, they talk about it in Rebels. It's in the mural. They're known as gods. Generally, like the way you'd find in a textbook, kind of the way we study mythology, I think, like Zeus and Hera and all of that. But like these three got to go there. They got to go to Mount Olympus and have like a conversation with them. So curious to see who else might, aside from the three of them, know something about that.
Well, does Anakin walk away with the knowledge, or doesn't he forget
some of it, but not all of it, because they show him the future, and then they have to they touch his forehead like that, and he loses that memory. Yeah, but they show him they show the Darth Vader helmet and all the things he does, and he freaks out about it. I want to say that's in Ghost. Oh yeah, that's literally the thumbnail. So by the way, spoiler alert. It's the thumbnail on Disney Plus for on IMDb for Ghosts of Mortis. It's like the Vader helmet in smoke, which gives a lot away, guys. All right, Jason Barnes is gonna give all of us a heart attack. The Force works through midichlorians, also known as M count. I'm glad that we've sort of pulled away from a very scientific measurement for the Force. I like when it's weird and ill-defined, but I also understand that something in your blood might turn up in some type of tests that we as people would identify as a way to measure this. So M count or midichlorians pops up in The Mandalorian, and is seemingly relevant, creating clones and everything. So yeah,
I think at some point in time, Lucas thought there was a need to explain or how the Force is infested, but that's not the right word. Into the
how does
people.
It spread?
How do you measure it? How do you, does it become part of you? But then again, at the same point in time, he giveth and he taketh away, because he'd be our Star Wars Lord. And what he does is say, okay, this is a way of measuring, but you can't always count on it, because it's not, because, not everybody that has a shit ton of midichlorians is uber powerful.
I read a really interesting thing about the way the Force manifests in different people. And there's been this running thing of does Han Solo have the Force? Because he's so charismatic, and can fly the ship with so little knowledge. And he's just, highly successful and kind of lucky. And the Force just creates an easy path for him in some ways, where he can if he's flying his ship, he can sort of see where he needs to be before the bad thing happens. Right. And I guess that's the Force. And then there's another one where they were saying Leia's main Force ability is to literally be invisible. She's in the Senate as a young woman training to be a senator, right? Back when the Senate was still a thing, with Palpatine feet away, not realizing that she's the daughter of Padme or that she's strong in the Force, right? The Force shields her from everything else around her. She couldn't feel Luke. Luke couldn't feel her. And it's almost like a wall is created. So look, there's a lot of retconning and a lot of heavy trying to find a way to make it make sense, right? But I like that idea that the Force is different for all different users. Some people have it very actively. Some people have it more of a mental thing. We know there are characters who can touch objects and find the memories associated with other people who have touched those objects or whatever. Quinlan Voss does that. Cal Kestis does that. There are all sorts of really interesting powers. So we still don't know what the Force does 50 years later. It's still really difficult to explain.
Well, and when it gets down to it, George goes, I got an idea. I'll use this. This is how I'll explain how that works.
Yeah.
And we have to sometimes go, okay, it's fiction. It works whatever way they write it, because that's how stories work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. I want to put up this comment from Dave, because he is pointing out unifying Force. Yes, there have been some excellent topics about the nature of the Force on the unifying Force. And beyond moving rocks. But yes, that's another important factor. That and jumping high and running fast, but not too high. Because once we got them to jump too high in one of the movies, they were all of a sudden, we can't do that anymore. It's too easy a cheat code.
Well, yeah, and then falling out of buildings and then not dying.
Mace Windu. Sherry, I think you're right that Mortis seemed like the beta version of A World Between Worlds. The World Between Worlds was probably the thing they wanted to do at first. Or instead they were we need a heaven, and what does heaven look like in this world, in the world of Star Wars? And would every civilization have their own, or is there one unifying thought of what that is? And Dave was pointing out how threes and trios, trinities are really important. That's always a thing, which I have thoughts about what the next trinity is going to be, because we see in this Mortis arc, the daughter dies and seemingly merges with Ahsoka in some form, right? So Ahsoka is the daughter, kind of, sort of. Will she become the daughter for real? Notice the head of the daughter statue is the one that is collapsed in Ahsoka season 1 at the end, right? So could she become the Mortis daughter? Anakin is sort of foretold to bring balance to the Force. Is it just here on the normal plane of existence, or is he also going to then take over as the Mortis father, the way the father wants him to? Like the father literally says to him, I want you to take my place. So maybe he will. Leaves the big question. Who is the embodiment of the dark side of the Force? And for everyone in the chat, I'd love for you to put in your top thought as to who that could be. I have some thoughts as to who I think would be the perfect Mortis son, embodying the dark side of the Force. Skip, do you have a thought on this?
Maul?
We're looking right at him. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're queuing it up for Maul. I mean, this Maul series, why are we still talking about this character? You know, like he has to have a bigger role in all of Star Wars.
Well, I think the interesting thing about Maul is he starts out as a pawn.
Yeah.
And then by the end, he has the veil has been taken off and his wisdom sets in. And now, you know, as we get to the end of Clone Wars and the Clone Wars Series 7, and right as Return of the Revenge of the Sith starts, he's like, wow, and all of a sudden he sees it. He sees. He doesn't necessarily understand or know what he's done. He just sees the process and what's going on, and so yeah, I mean, he would make a great embodiment of the son.
And he is constantly angry, constantly chasing down revenge. Like Palpatine dies and everything, and you could argue that he's more evil than Maul, but Maul is unrelenting, truly dark side, never learns his lesson, runs straight into a wall over and over and over again. Which, by the way, we're going to have all sorts of Maul programming happening on the network when we get closer to the release of the show. And we're going to do a bunch of rewatch things. I'm already starting to see other Star Wars channels talk about what we need to watch. Clone Wars is not going to Clone Wars Revisited is not going to sync up with any Maul episodes. So we're going to plan something else, something special beforehand. We'll certainly give you guys like your homework as to what you should watch before the Maul show premieres. So everyone can get caught up, because there's like a handful of Clone Wars episodes. There's a whole bunch of Rebels episodes. We got to watch Phantom Menace. You got to read some books. We're going to do some programming to get you set. But I think once you absorb all of that programming, you will then be ready, not just ready for this new episode, but I think you'll get in the same headspace of me of like, they are teeing him up to eventually become the new Mortis son, which would be interesting because Sam Witwer does the voice of the Mortis son in this arc, which is, I think, again, it's like poetry. And like Spencer said, it's like poetry. It sucks. Here we go. One of my all-time favorite things that I've ever said.
You know, it's interesting. Dave was saying, "Oh, I would have to retcon it because Maul gets killed." But there's nothing that says a dead person can't, that spirit can't come back and act as the essence of either the son, the father, or the daughter.
He can't be a Force ghost, but who's to say what's the true nature of evil, right? So I here's the thing. It's just a thought, and yeah. So if Anakin was the father and Vader was the son, I don't know. I mean, that's tricky, right? Because they're still the same person. I know they're different characters. I feel like it's not perfect, right? Like we don't have a perfect answer as to who, and if they're even going to do this, like, I don't know. There's something about the Mortis arc that,
it's messed up.
Yeah. And it doesn't fully explain, like you were saying, what's going on. But we know that the dark side has fallen, right? We're in the Clone Wars. The shroud of the dark side has fallen. The dark side has run amok, right? We almost sort of see that happen in the Mortis arc. Like the dark side kind of wins in this situation. And it's not surprising to me that like darkness is like flowing through the galaxy.
Well, on some level, the darkness has to win because the darkness is still, I mean, you can't get rid of the darkness.
Yeah.
And somebody has to play that part.
Yeah.
So that person has to somewhat win because they've got to exist.
And the time period we're in, there is all through the Empire time period, but then even through the reign of the not the reign of the rebellion, the age of the rebellion, as they're trying to overthrow the Empire. Even after the Empire, they're still like cleaning up the galaxy, trying to like get rid of the last remnants of the Empire. But like the new Republic isn't doing a great job at it. And then the First Order's there like 20 years later. So it's not like the dark side has evaporated either. Sarah, this is interesting. Oh yeah, and then Dave, you're right. Like trinities are super important in all things religious, and this is, I would say, a very heavy-handed religious arc for sure. It is definitely asking people to think about the Force the way they would any type of religion, which is interesting for like a kids cartoon, air quotes kids cartoon. But yeah, even the picture that they show of Qui-Gon in Overlords on the IMDb, the little GIF cover or the JPEG cover, he looks like Jesus right there. Like it's very, very heavy-handed. Sarah, I'm curious to see what Balin is going to do, but I don't think that he is getting a spot in Mortis. I think he's going to go yell at them. I don't know where he's going to end up, but he's going to get something. He's going to get some type of reward, even if his intentions are not pure. I think something good is going to happen to Balin's Skull. I think we have to.
It's once again not very definitive. You know, it never is like, oh, this is clearly what happened. This is clearly how this works. This is clearly what this is. There's the fog stays over this arc, and is still there to this day. And Filoni refuses to blow it away.
Yeah.
I'm a very black and white kind of guy, and this gray shit is bugging the hell out of me.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do, obviously, in Ahsoka season 2, which is probably now coming like late in the year, if at all. Maybe early 27. All content calendars have been reduced across the board. One of the things I wanted to talk about this episode, and we obviously haven't gotten to because we're already deep into the episode and we're not even watching yet. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the trailers that have dropped and just generally what the geeky calendar looks like for 2026, because it's starting to kick in. We're now ending the like 2025 latecomer movies and the awards bait kind of movies. Like those are ending, and now 26 is really starting. And I would argue that the first like tentpole like geeky movie of the year is really Scream 7. Like I know it's a horror movie and that franchise is not for everyone, and it's certainly not a $1 billion blockbuster franchise the way the Avengers is or something, but like Scream 7 has been in the pop culture for like Scream has been in the pop culture for like 30 years. And it's getting a Super Bowl trailer, which is why it's top of mind today. So that one hitting soon, and we just got Wonder Man out on Disney Plus. So we've got a new show that just dropped all their episodes, which was fine. I've seen mostly positive reviews, but not a lot of people watching. And then we've got a big tentpole horror movie to start off the year, along with all the interesting, weird indie horror starting. It's going to be a strange calendar, like for 2026 for sure.
Sorry, reaching for something.
You're good.
It's going to be a very interesting time for Star Wars because we've got Ahsoka, which is very much because of Rebels tied into, and Clone Wars tied into the Mortis arc, to the world between worlds, and now we've got Balin, sitting on the arm of the Father on this world. It's we're going to have some interesting stuff come out about it. We've got Maul coming out. We've got Starfighter. We've got, it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how Dave changes his management style, changes what we get as far as content, the amount of content he decides is the right amount of content. Like, Kathleen Kennedy had her okay, let's go for it, and then she had to pull back. And the question is, of course, I always say, was the pullback necessary because there was too much content, or was the pullback necessary because it was not good enough content? There's a lot of people that are like, so I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Wednesday, the girls will be talking about Kathleen Kennedy's legacy, and I think that conversation about the Disney era of Star Wars will definitely be discussed. I was actually having this conversation with some of my friends in the industry, and we were saying that everyone really thought 2020 and 2021 were going to become the new baseline for all levels of television and movies, where theaters were going to struggle and everyone was going to tune into television at like alarming rates, like the rates that like the government would otherwise tell you, please stop watching television, it's not good for you, like those kinds of viewing habits. Right now it's more so like we're addicted to our phones and whatnot, but people were watching like obscene amounts of television. A lot of it had to do with unemployment and COVID and lockdown and everything else. And also all streaming was new. Like HBO Max had been around as HBO, but it was now as a streaming service slightly different. Netflix had been around for a little while, but like everyone was home. Disney Plus launched, Paramount Plus launched, Peacock launched. I probably have 15 streaming services. I got to be honest, I piss away my money in streaming services. So we got to the point of like not the golden age of television, but the highest quantity of content in television. And everyone thought that was going to maintain. And guess what? It didn't, because it's unsustainable. And I think so. I don't even think it's a Disney problem. I think it was like the studios at large, especially once they found out that like it's not monetizable in the way they expected. If you think that your streaming service is going to reach 20 million subscribers and you only ever get to 15 and it doesn't move from there, you then have to reassess all of your budgets to realize that you're only getting 15 million people paying $10 a month, not 20 million people, which means you've lost out on tens of millions of dollars. Like, this is the problem, right? So I think for Disney, they need to look at monetizing theatricals once a year or once every other year, along with a TV show they can afford to manufacture, produce, whatever, whether it's live action or animation, and then some type of supplemental content, whether it's Tales of, Visions, something small form, right? So an A, B, and C, a gold, silver, bronze, and then let literature run the rest of the way. Like comic books, those things pay for themselves. It's rare that like books don't perform at extreme levels in this fandom. So I think that's how I would run things. And I would also say that like they're now turning that way to Marvel. Marvel only has one proper movie coming out in 2026, and that is Doomsday, and that is in December. The other one is a Sony production for Spider-Man in July. So you're getting one major movie after having 6 a couple years ago. That year when Thor: Love and Thunder came out, there were like 6 movies that year. Like, it's crazy. And now we have one plus Spider-Man.
Well, and there's a big difference between the quantity and quality. You know, in other words, we have a lot of quantity, but there was something about when it was TV, cable television, and they could sell they could take breaks and sell advertisement, and still get a little bit of essentially streaming money by the people paying for HBO, Cinemax, and all the other different shows that you paid for to get as part of your subscription to cable. But I watched a couple movies. I watched the Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista movie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I watched that movie, and I think in the hands of a real cinema experience, it would have been a better movie. They would have spent more time editing it. They would have, paid for the things that, I mean, look, they call it icing on the cake. Wrecking Crew. Thank you, David. They call it icing on the cake for a good reason, because icing makes the cake better. And you've got to take these little things that you put on into a film and make them better. You got to have a little bit better writing, a little bit better editing. You got to have, it was a cute premise, and there were some things about it that I liked. There was some crap about it that was like, okay, could have been better. That could have been drug out. That could have been shortened. Pacing, I guess. And they're just throwing shit out there as fast as they can. And there is God knows. I remember when it was like, okay, what's on TNT, TBS, and USA? Those were my choices of rerun movies that I could watch. Now I can go to streaming service and I can watch 50,000 movies. Don't even get me about the Kevin James and who's the guy that plays Reacher?
Alan Richardson?
Alan Richardson did a movie called Playdate or something like that, and I couldn't even get through the whole thing. It was just so bad. It was not, and I'm like, man, those are two pretty decent actors, and Reacher's a good show. But once again, it's written and it's a TV show. So there's something about that competition that occurred in the cable days. You didn't have 50,000 shows. If it wasn't good, it didn't make it on the air. People cut it when people stopped watching it. It got cut because you didn't worry about, like, we left it there and then we came back and watched it 10 years later, and all of a sudden it was getting response. So I think I don't know that I call this the glory days. I think there's something,
not at all.
I think we lost something when we went from cable TV to streaming services.
100%. I think you nailed it, that we lost the quality and we're churning out. I mean, we call it content now, which I think is a little bit demeaning, but it's become like the language of choice, which makes it more disposable, I think. So, yeah, I do lament the days of like prestige television and like HBO versus HBO Max. Totally different system. While at the same time, I'm glad that we have so much choice. The problem is there's so much garbage too you have to sift through. And I think it's actually like, it's the same on YouTube. Like, I can't tell you how much garbage is out there, man, which is disheartening as someone who, I think we put effort into all of our shows, and there's just so much junk out there. But, I can't fight it. So we'll do the best we can. With that in mind, Sarah, you have proven me right again, Sarah, when you said that there's no way. I saw your comment from earlier that we were going to make it early. We are at 9:30 already. Oh my God, we got to start watching this show. So let me pull up the details on tonight's episode, Overlords.
So I can make my dramatic. After being dragged into a mysterious object and finding themselves trapped in a land rich in the Force, Anakin must choose between his destiny or his friends. Balance is found in the one who faces his guilt.
That's a good one.
I don't even get that. Balance is the one who faces his guilt.
Balance is found. Yeah. You have to. Okay, so you're not going to dwell.
When I eat the extra a bowl of ice cream, I don't always find my guilt. I mean, I have guilt, but I don't always find my balance.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Somebody's going to have to work with me on that one.
No, I think it's like yeah, I can't articulate. I've like my brain has turned into pudding. It's been a day. Meanwhile, I can't find the bumper either. Oh, here we go. Okay, I've got the countdown. All right, guys, everyone cue up your season 3, episode 15, Overlords. We are going to start this Mortis arc right now. Okay. Too many windows open over here.
Yeah, I'm way behind. Couldn't get to the
Your mind's finally clicking in. The delays on Disney Plus have gotten worse, which, as we think about what do we want Disney to do differently in 2026 or 2027, can we upgrade Disney Plus so it functions a little bit better? I realize that that's probably not their top priority, but Josh DeMeo, soon to be the CEO, supposedly, that's unofficial, but that's seemingly where we're headed. He's a parks guy, and I don't know how much he's going to say about Disney Plus, but I think the interface is terrible. And they also need to bring in some new content on there too, because paying a lot of money for a pretty deep catalog, to be fair, but not a lot of new stuff. Chantal, you have summed up the struggle of our new generation of content consumers, right? Not only is there so much garbage, but so many services that you have to pay for, and then you have to make the choice to what you subscribe at versus just paying for a cable package. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, like, when you can get a cable package and it includes Disney, Hulu, and some of these different services.
Yeah. Chantal also had a comment before that I forgot to put up. she was thrown for a loop when this arc came out, and she had a hard time fitting it into the Star Wars universe at first, which is a common comment that I have seen when I talk to people about Mortis, especially if they've only seen it once. They're like, I don't understand how this fits in. And by the way, that is like such a specific Star Wars problem. Like, I think.
Okay, where are we?
Timing wise, I'm at 148.
Oh, unfortunately, all I see is what's left, not what's gone past.
Oh, hold on. My caption just came off too. Come on, English. Yeah, they're entering, like, Sherry, this is actually giving me some really strong world between world vibes. Yeah, and Jeff, certainly more mystical than like almost anything else in Star Wars, minus the world between worlds.
Okay, what are you actually watching?
Season 3, episode 15, Overlords.
No.
Yeah, it is 2:27. No. They just got pulled into the white light.
Okay. I'm very close to where you are.
We're watching the Clone Wars skip.
Yes. Really?
There we go, the bright light. Go into the light, Skip. Follow the light. Oh my God, one of my coworkers, she asked me to repeat something, and so I like screamed at a full volume, and I was like, "Can you hear me, dear?" She's like 3 years older than me, but it was the kind of thing where we were laughing about that for days, and I really think my brain has broken. Like, I've gotten to the point now where I crack myself up in a way that's highly unhealthy, and so now I'm going to be thinking about this like all night, just like cracking up. I've also been trapped inside for a week. This is not good for me. Like, I went out Friday night, and that was the extent of my socializing for the whole week, and it's not enough.
See, this doesn't have like the world between worlds is really the examining of the links between the different possibilities or the different timelines. Mm-hmm. They're not in that in between. They're actually in a world.
Well, they're outside of time and space, which is kind of the same as World Between Worlds. Because apparently we find out at the very end that even though they're gone for days and they see cycles of days, they're gone for like a split second on the map. They're like, oh, we lost you there for a second. That's how it comes back. So no one knows that they were gone. You're right, Sarah. It looks like a giant holocron, a giant Sith holocron, which is amazing. Yeah, Sherry, just to clarify, Sith holocron for sure. It was totally bringing me Twilight of the Apprentice kind of. Yeah.
Talks about the ultimate foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
The same place everybody else is. We'll be fine as long as we all stay together.
Yes. And that's one of the greatest lines ever. And then you see how all three of them ended up at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
And that's, I remember the first time I saw Revenge of the Sith and Anakin's going off in one direction, or Anakin staying on Coruscant, and Obi-Wan's going off to fight Grievous. And it's like, this is the end. This is the end of their friendship. This is the last time they know each other, and this is my brother. After that, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, what a mess. Doesn't this seem like Garden of Eden vibes with the Paradise, Dave?
Yeah, it definitely seems like that to me.
And that I like this idea of like the world between worlds being a purgatory. I don't know if it would be that, because like you can sort of walk through it for fun. Seemingly, like Ezra was having a blast, just like being like, where does this road lead? It's more of a path. This, on the other hand, feels like it would be like the center, the nexus point, right? Like this would be the origin spot, like 0.000 on the map where all things flow out of, right? Including the world between worlds. So there's worlds, and then there's like the layers between, but like this would be the 000 on the map.
And this is where everything is connected to this point.
Yes.
But Ezra's vision of it, or his example of a world between worlds, is being outside of this point, being he's on the road that travels to all the different places. So he could poke his head into it, and he could have gone into any of those areas, but he chose not to. Like he chose not to go into with his parents.
Yeah.
Now, Ahsoka dropped into those areas, but I don't think she was not as conscious to what was going on as Ezra was. Ezra knew he was walking around looking at all the different worlds, though he was still somewhat confused. Ahsoka was like, I'm here. Oh, whoop, I'm over here. She was bouncing around.
Yeah. Oh, look, this girl's been through so much. It's amazing to think that in her now, I guess 40 years of life, not now at this point, she's 20 or whatever it is, but or 15 or 16. It's something terrible, terribly young. She's still a child soldier. By the time I guess we get to the Mandalorian, she's like in her 30s. But like the amount of life this lady has lived is insane, and not just compared to every other person battling in the Star Wars, which is sick and twisted and terrible and dealing with life and death situations and friends dying and all that stuff, but like the mysticism of it all, like encountering literal gods and maybe merging with one of them and thinking you've died and you don't know if you even can die, or what is the meaning of life and are you alive. Like it's so much. It's like it like explodes your head. It's too complicated. But yeah, I love everything they do here in this weird little space. It's already nighttime and we're like 3 minutes in. And this guy's creepy AF, right?
Well, the whole, I'm Sith and I'm not Sith. And then there goes Dracula as he turns into the big flying bat.
Yeah. I'm definitely not evil. He's like the most evil thing we've seen in a while. Very much looks like I remember when they revealed the look and feel of the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels. I was like, oh, that's who he looks like. It looks like the Grand Inquisitor. First person I thought of was the Mortis son, and of course voiced by the incomparable Sam Witwer. I think I have an autograph of him on a card of Mortis son. This makes me think a little bit. So Sarah, this idea of like him saying Sith yes and no. Makes me think a little bit of the Bendu, that he's like so much more than the words we have come up with to categorize him. Like the label is not as important as what he is. So like, yes, he's evil, but like not even evil. He's the dark side, which is more than just evil because it just is the same way a river just is. Like the Bendu sort of gives you that, right? Like he doesn't choose. He's just nature. But like, I think it's pretty clear that there's like good and evil and the light and the dark in here, almost very heavy-handedly so.
Well, I think this is the same kind of explanation, like for instance, in Christianity, is that if you're biblical, if you read the Bible, all the knowledge is there, but it's beyond your understanding.
Yeah,
and that's basically what the Jedi have. Is they have an understanding that they think is quite enormous of the Force, and he's sitting there laughing at him, going, "Oh, Sith, yeah, well, I am, but
yeah.
so much more." It's such a he laughing at them for their small understanding of the Force, even though they think they're deep rooted in the Force.
Yeah. It's look, it's a difference between having an elementary school degree versus a college degree, but it's like we need you to have like a PhD in this. So they're still miles away from where they need to be, and it's on a much larger scale than that, obviously. Because I couldn't begin to explain what the Force is. Like you can recite what Yoda told you. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it's in the rocks, all that good stuff, right? But like it doesn't really get to the core of what is the Force. The same way I don't think physicists on Earth can actually tell you what physics is and how, like, what is matter. Like it's so seemingly simple but also impossible to explain. And that's what I kind of love about this. I love how weird and like, look at this animation. It just brings you to a completely different place. Like I know we're not in any of the Star Wars planets we've seen before, and I know we're in a place that like kind of doesn't make sense. Oh, here's Qui-Gon popping up, right? Like all of a sudden Obi-Wan Kenobi is talking to his dead master. Like this is some weird stuff. I like this. What is this place? And he's like, it's a conduit. The entire force of the universe flows. I like that we know they're after Anakin from the jump, though. There's not a lot of mystery to that.
How are you here? I am here. You are here, so I am here.
Yeah.
So does that mean that he is just an inner voice of Obi-Wan, or is it really Qui-Gon?
I think it's an extrapolation, right? Everything that Obi-Wan knows about Qui-Gon has come with him to this place. So there's a possibility of you having a conversation with your master and probably filling in the answers to the own questions you're asking. Yeah, Chantel, we were talking about this at the start of the episode, how the Force definitely manifests differently, one across species, across people. everyone uses different words for it too. I mean, the witches in Acolyte were calling it the thread, right? Like everyone had a different word for it. So I like that. And yeah, it's definitely similar to religions and mythologies here on Earth.
Well, I like the whole thing with the mom is that really her, is she able to reach out to Anakin, or is Anakin bringing to this vision what he knows of his mother?
Yeah, I think the second part. I think you bring in with you what you know, and then they pull that thread and extrapolate. Because what would you say to a parent who, I mean, in this case, he didn't have any last moments, right? He blames himself for Shmi being killed, right? And never really got to tell her everything he needed to say. If you could have that conversation, how would it go? And so he's getting a lot of closure here, whether it's real or not. I think like it's almost, he brings in all of that baggage, and then the world allows the interaction to happen. But it's not actually her. It's not her Force ghost or her ghost, period. I do like this conversation though, because I do think that this would be how it goes. I actually think that like Shmi would never make him feel bad, and to release the guilt. Yeah, and then it turns. So they lure you in with the good stuff. Sarah, I think this is interesting. Like, could Qui-Gon actually be there? I'm going to say that that's all Obi-Wan, and then the world is playing with the projection, because they're clearly doing that with Shmi right now. Like, that's not Shmi. But the beginning of it felt really accurate as to what I think would have happened. And yes, the Mortis son is absolutely trying to manipulate all of them, with the intention of getting to Anakin so that Anakin kills the daughter or the father or both of them, so the son can run amok. That's like the whole purpose of this. And he knows that Anakin is stronger than all of them.
Well, and with Ahsoka talking to herself, her future self, this is it. That to me screams, okay.
Yep.
This is them. This is their own voices.
Oh yeah, I like this character model of her too. I know it's not what we get in real life, like with the Ahsoka show
Rebels.
or the Rebels version, but that extrapolation as to what she thinks she's going to look like when she's older is really well done. It's a good model. I also love the temple and everything. It's beautiful. Very simple view of the universe is what the father says. Neither Sith nor Jedi. Much more. Very Bendu, right? This is impressive. If someone can just like hold the lightsaber. I like that he says few still know of our existence, because at some point someone must have, right? Which is why they're in the files that they uncover in like the final few episodes of Rebels, when the mural shows up. By the way, I know they did the Rebels mural at Celebration and at San Diego Comic-Con. I've always wanted a Mortis mural. I realize that's like a really deep cut though, but like the Mortis mural would bring me so much joy. So if there's anyone out there who does like little pieces, I think a Mortis mural, that might be my thing, that I could have. Like, I'm not a particularly religious person, or someone who has like a lot of junk on their desk, despite the fact that I have a lot of junk on my shelves. But I would totally have like a Mortis mural on my desk. And if anyone asked me, I'd be like, it's church. So the voice actor for this, I want to get his name right. My internet is so slow. Scrolling. By the way, this episode came out in 2011. We're talking 15 years ago, guys. Jeez. So much has happened since then. Okay, the voice cast, of course, Matt Lanter, Ashley Eckstein, James Earl Taylor, all amazing, obviously. Sam Witwer doing the son, as we already talked about. Lloyd Sher, who does the father, he's fantastic in this role. And we actually had him sign autographs for us at Tops. And we had Sam sign, of course, numerous times, and he signed as the son a few times. We also had the daughter sign, Adrienne Wilkinson. She's done a ton of video game work, among other stuff. Liam Neeson actually plays Qui-Gon in this role. I swore that it was like a voice double or someone, but it's really her. And Pernilla August does Shmi. They really spent some money on this, bringing the two of them back. And then D. Bradley Baker, of course, is in here as Rex. I'm pulling up Lloyd Sher. My computer's just being incredibly slow, guys. Sorry. But he's in, Lloyd Sher's in Cars 2 and Cars 3. He plays Fillmore. I don't know all the cars well enough to point to that. He's in Greenland, Hotel Artemis, and he's in a bunch of video games. So many video games, you guys. You definitely heard this man's voice. Same thing with Adrienne Wilkinson. She's done a bunch of video games. She's in Dreamcatcher. She's actually done Star Wars The Force Unleashed. So she has worked with Sam before, which is interesting. She's also in a couple episodes of Rebels. Who's she in Rebels? I can't remember now. It's always pull up the 2 episodes right there. Where is it? IMDb is so clunky. Like you click something and it just disappears. Where the hell did it go? This is so frustrating. Oh my God. I'm going to break my computer is what's going to actually happen. So, Sarah, I want to ask about this. This is where he loses his status as the chosen one. Because I do think when we get to twin sons and the conversation becomes like, is he the chosen one? And of course, at that point, we're no longer referring to Anakin. We're referring to Luke. Yeah, like I think it had to have happened in the in-between of Revenge of the Sith or the Clone Wars and Luke and Leia being born. I'm wondering if there's like a canonical answer for that.
I don't. Yeah, Lucas has always been quoted as saying that Anakin was the chosen one. Anakin was the chosen one. I've never heard him say that his status as the chosen one is passed on to Luke or anybody else.
See, but at the same time, it's crazy how. I'm sorry, I can't find this Rebels thing. It's going to be the death of me now. Like in Twin Sons, they're obviously talking about Luke. Right? Am I crazy, guys? Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're correct. Is he the chosen one? Yes, he is.
I like their giant flying forms, like the bat and the bird. And he can just control them like animals. It's very cool. It's just kind of a griffin, right? Because it definitely looks like a lion with wings. And he's definitely a bat. The animation is amazing. Oh, so Sarah, right. None of this is... I knew what you meant, though. Like, here on Mortis is where he maybe no longer is the chosen one. It's possible. Yeah, he does balance the Force in this moment. And maybe he'll do it again. Here's the thing. This brings up a lot of questions about how we feel about Vader. I don't think that Vader is redeemable. I don't think so. As someone who has read enough Vader content to know how many people he's killed and all that stuff, I never thought he should have been a Force ghost or received that redemption. And like, I don't think that like there's a heaven waiting for him based on all his prior crimes. Certainly the people he killed during his time as Darth Vader. And I realize that they're trying to really separate Darth Vader from Anakin Skywalker. It's still him, like whether he was like fully taken over by the dark side of the Force or what, like it's still Anakin Skywalker who chose to become Vader. He said so in the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. So if we're going to go by canonical content, like he says in Obi-Wan Kenobi that he chose. So yeah, Sarah, like he's a monster and he embraced it. So but as Dave said, everyone gets a redemption, which I highly disagree with. I think one of the few redemption stories that's actually done correctly in all of Star Wars is Hot Kallus, because Kallus leaves the Imperial Order and then makes good on his promise of becoming a good guy and has to live out his days working on the other side of it and dealing with all the consequences that comes with it. Like he's now a wanted man, and has to fight on the other side and like earn the trust of everyone he's working with, and probably might still end up in a prison at some point. So I don't know. I don't think that Vader was ever owed a redemption, but I also understand from a storytelling perspective why you would do that at the end of Return of the Jedi, right? Like I get why, from a functional perspective, for creating movies for kids, maybe Vader could be forgiven in 1983. Since then, the amount of storytelling they've done where Vader just like slaughters people wildly in every iteration of Vader, we're at a point where we can't just forgive a couple murders at this point. Like we are so past that point. So I don't know. I don't think he's forgivable. But
Well, I think that that's the magnitude of the story is that even in Revenge of the Sith we see him killing children.
Yeah.
And we know at this point in time, because we've already seen Return of the Jedi, that he comes back to the light. But that's also, I think, why he had to die. I think that's the same thing with Ben Solo. He came back into the light, but had to die because the sins that he committed were too great. So you can come back into the light, you can save your soul, but you can't live.
I guess. I mean, I don't think it's enough, because also he came back into the light to overthrow the Emperor to save his son. So you could also view that as like not super selfless.
It was a selfless and great act that he committed, but the problem is it still doesn't wipe off the blood from all the killings that he did prior to it.
Right. Look, we could do a whole Unifying Force episode just on this. I agree, though, JB. I loved seeing Anakin in the World Between Worlds. And in fact, that's not something I had thought about going into Ahsoka Season 1 as to like things I'd like to see. But like Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars gear as worn by Hayden Christensen, like sort of emulating Matt Lanter, like the connectivity of it all. This time the poetry worked. I thought it was fantastic, and I love that too. And I love seeing hero Anakin. Like early Clone Wars, even though we know he is headed to the dark side and we know he has his red flag moments, like there's something about those first few seasons of Clone Wars when he is just like so gung-ho, the hero of the story, and we're all just behind him at all times. Like I love that. And so I feel like we got that version of Anakin in that moment. Like it certainly felt like that's what was being channeled. I want to put up Chantel, you were on it tonight, let me tell you. So teetering between the bad and the good, even when you see him finishing the training of Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds. Yeah, the Vader Flash is amazing, and it gives you this like understanding that even though he's been our hero for so long, there's always this brewing darkness under him.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, once again, a lot of vagueness. Gray storytelling. And wanting you to fill it out for yourself, create your own headcanon.
Mm-hmm. Sarah brings up a good point that Anakin's still working for it, and then Dave tying it back to Earth religion. If you believe and you give yourself over to the Father, anyone and everyone can be forgiven, right? Like if you're Catholic, you can go to confession, confess your sins, and as long as you are actually sorry, I believe you have to actually feel guilt about what you did. You can't just apologize and make it all go away. Like you actually have to like feel guilt about what you did and want to do penance to make it better. Then you can be forgiven. That's the whole point of the religion, right? So that they're definitely tying it into something real there. What else? Let's see. He has to. He doesn't just pass into the light. He has to work for it. I'm just saying I don't think that the burden is high enough. So yeah, it's like fate pushing him in the yeah. So Chantel, there's another big question out there about like predetermination, and that's like a major thing I think in all literature. Like how much of our heroes' journeys across all literature that we read or all movies we watch, how much is destiny driving things, and you're just the vessel by which this is happening. Like how much free will do you have, or how much is predetermined? Because Vader is pushed in so many different directions. He's a highly manipulated character, from the Jedi Order to Palpatine, to literally the Mortis father, who maybe is Zeus, right? The equivalent of like the god of gods in this universe, poking at him. Like, that's a lot. Like, does this man get to make a decision for himself, or is everyone else just going to be moving his chess piece around the board for him? I don't know. What's your take on Vader, Anakin, Skip? Do you think he's redeemable or should have been redeemed?
Like I said before, I think that his redemption requires him to die. I think that he's allowed to come. That just like Ben Solo, the
death is a requirement if you're going to.
Death is a requirement of this redemption. Okay. You may redeem yourself and then give up you have to sacrifice your life because what you've done.
To become a ghost? That sounds great. That sounds like an upgrade.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, you die. You don't get to live. You don't get to be with, for Anakin, you don't get to go live with your son and your daughter. You don't get to experience their life. You don't get to hear. You don't get to see your grandchildren. You die because you have to pay for the sins must be paid for.
Yeah.
But you did come back to the light. You did save your son. You did kill the emperor. So therefore, you've redeemed yourself. Your soul is good. Now you can become a Force ghost, but you also have to become a Force ghost.
Mm-hmm. And you have to do, like Dave said, a lot of Hail Marys, or whatever other task, an infinite number of Hail Marys, or some other task to get you there. Yeah, I actually think the opposite, that if you're going to be redeemed, man, I want to see you in prison or working for it, like here in the current plane of existence, right? Like, that's why I love the Callus thing so much. Like, he actually defected. And actually, by the way, the rebellion is made up of so many defectors, like people who were on the wrong side of the war and then they changed sides. And I don't think, I think most of them were not evil. And most of them weren't even bad. They just saw bad things were happening and they were like, I'm getting out and I'm making a change. And I think Callus was actually legitimately bad, but he wasn't evil. Anakin, or I guess you could say Vader, was evil, like dark side rooted.
As they did Callus's redemption, they also said, well, he didn't really do this. He claimed to do things that he didn't really do.
They did retcon some of that. I mean, he's still like was a tool for the Empire for a long time. Although they say now, even more in the retcon, that in season 1 of Rebels, he's already like secretly working against the Empire by being so inefficient and incompetent at his job. But I've watched those episodes back enough times. There's no evidence for that. Like, they're just trying to make it seem like we weren't paying attention to this cartoon back in 2015. Come on now. You can't roll that past me. I'm sure Sarah and Ashley and everyone else who's examine this TV show with a microscope will tell you that's not accurate.
It's like J.K. Rowling, as she's writing her 5th, 6th, and 7th book, and she's using things that happen in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Is, did you really have that in your mind that you were going to do that? Was it always part of, like Lucas, though he changed his storytelling method? Like, he went from the will of the he changed the things he called it. He changed Star Killer to Skywalker. The relationship between Vader and Luke. All that stuff changed. The question is okay. Are you retconning that stuff? Like the kiss between Luke and Leia. Are you retconning that at the end? Or did you actually have that in your mind and you were writing around it the whole time? I'm impressed if you were writing around it the whole time. If you're retconning, I can do that too.
Yeah. I truly think 80% of Star Wars is a retcon. Like, that much.
Yeah.
We've seen it play out. So, and that doesn't bother me so much. I mean, there are some things where it's like, we need to abandon some of these threads. Like, we all hate the fact that Palpatine was cloned, and we've now spent so many other forms of media trying to make it make sense that it actually dilutes the rest of the story we're trying to tell. Like, I loved the Bad Batch seasons 2 and 3, but there were all these like threads that they were trying to throw in about the cloning, and I get that. Like the clones are like a big part of the Bad Batch. They are clones. I was like, I don't care about why and how Palpatine cloning has happened. Like, please just let it be. It all sucks, and you're not going to be able to fix it in a way that's meaningful enough for me to not hate it. So like, we can stop with the retconning on that kind of stuff. Just give us a brand new story. So in some ways, with the Maul situation coming up, I hope they're not going to continue to retcon all sorts of weird stuff or try to fill in blanks or plot holes that they think are plot holes. I know there are some like crazy YouTubers out there going like, this doesn't make sense and I need explanation for that. I don't. I just want like a really fun story with Maul, and not even fun. I want it to be dark and fucked up. Like, I want him to be like this is our first series where the villain is the lead. Like, and that's true for a lot of series, that the hero is always the lead, right? And in Star Wars, you could say it's a little blurred because with the Clone Wars, Anakin's still a hero. He's not Darth Vader yet, but like, we have a real villain in the lead spot for this. Like, this is the Darth Maul show. It's not like he's the villain of some larger thing. He just better go around killing people. That's got to be what he's doing, right? Yeah, that's the hope anyway. I don't know. Anyway, what an episode. We didn't cover... Here's the thing. We actually stayed really on topic. We have never been this good about being on topic for Star Wars, for Clone Wars, for Darth Maul, and for Mortis. Like, this is insanity, guys. Like, that's how you know we're dealing with some good topic over here. We didn't talk at all about the Grammys, the upcoming Super Bowl. I put a whole list of things that we were going to cover in the chat tonight into our little Clone Wars show.
Devil Wears Prada 2.
Oh, Devil Wears Prada 2. People are like, oh, does Meryl Streep have dementia? Because she doesn't seem to recognize any of the people in the, and they're like, no, she's just a bitch and hates everyone. Like, her character, not Meryl, obviously, but Miranda would obviously never remember these two women who mattered not at all to her. They were disposable. So of course, so it's also a power play. She obviously remembers them because she remembers everything, but she's making it seem like she doesn't know who they are to belittle them. Like, that's my take on that trailer. And if that's the movie, like, I don't know if that's sustainable for 2 hours. That being said, it looks fabulous. Like, I mean,
Chantel, whose wig did you do?
Yeah, Chantel. You're gonna have to spill all the secrets, because that white hair on Meryl is like unreal. Oh, you did Emily too. Emily looks so fucking good in that trailer. Emily Blunt is a gorgeous, gorgeous woman, but holy shit, like, she looked stunning in that trailer. They all look so expensive. Like, these people, I realize, are rich people to begin with, and they're in a rich people movie, like with fancy clothes and all that stuff, but they look like they are each wearing like tens of thousands of dollars worth of just, of fashion. So, and hair and makeup and shoes. Like, those shoes are worth more than my salary on some.
Now I feel better. We've gotten off topic.
Yeah, there we go. We're back. We're back, baby. I think Devil Wears Prada 2. That's gonna make like $400 million. Like, every gay and every girl is going to see that fucking movie.
I was thinking, and even the ones that aren't. I mean, like Krasinski has seen that movie, hundreds of times. I mean, he talks about it, the fact, and he'll go, wait, that's my favorite outfit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got a weirdly like frat bro kind of secondary market on that also. I think like it came out at the right time when like Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt were at their hottest, people arguably, right? I think they're both gorgeous now, but like, and also like up and coming in Hollywood and all of that. It was a moment in time for sure. And Meryl was at like her peak A game in terms of acting. That movie like is like, everyone I know has seen that movie. So I think it's going to be a gigantic hit.
I think people are going to go see this one too. I think
it'll be a big like girls' night out, gays' night out kind of thing. But there'll also be a secondary market of like husbands being dragged along, but also like then.
Oh yeah, come on, honey. Yeah, okay, take me. And push his wife.
Not even begrudgingly. They'll be like, yeah, that sounds like a great date night.
Honey, why don't I take you to go see Devil Wears Prada? I know you want to see it, even though he's the one that's really wanting to go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And look, I'm glad we live in a time where like people aren't embarrassed by that kind of stuff. Like, a lot of straight guys are watching Heated Rivalry and they are loving it. So please, everyone, go watch that show. That's my pitch every week, to watch that. Related to that, content coming up. Super Bowl is 6 days away. Who you got, Skip? Who do you think is going to win?
Oh, Seahawks.
Okay. I only know the Seahawks are in it. Who are they playing?
New England Patriots.
Oh, then yes, we're voting for the Seahawks. So no, everyone in look, it's funny. I remember a time when New England was the team that everyone loved, and like look, I also lived in Pittsburgh for 4 years, so everyone hated them too because of the Steelers Patriots situation. But like I haven't liked them for a long time, not just because of Tom Brady, but the coaching and everyone else. So go Seahawks. But I'm excited to see Bad Bunny. I'm very excited to see Green Day. I fucking love Green Day. So I'm actually rooting for them. So Seahawks and Green Day and Bad Bunny, who Bad Bunny won Album of the Year at the Grammys last night. So it's a very Bad Bunny. By the way, I couldn't name one of his songs. Like I don't know Bad Bunny's music. I hear it on the radio every now and then. Like I'm just not I'm like not big into his style of music, but I'm excited to see him perform. He's obviously very
I don't
dynamic.
even know what his style of music is. I'm interested in hearing him because I've probably heard it on the radio and not known.
And
But
here's
see,
the
I
thing:
don't
there's not
listen.
a lot of Spanish language music on radio still. So if you've heard a song 100% in Spanish, it might have been him, because he's by far the most famous. He's actually, I think, one of the most streamed artists in the whole world. Period. Like he's up there with Taylor Swift. And yeah, Lonnie, it is very much a Bad Bunny concert. And then Green Day, like I said, is going to be there too. So it's going to be that. And yes, the commercials. So Dave O'Neill. So far, the only one that I have seen has been the Scream 7 trailer has dropped. Yeah, and we'll see some sports ball too. But like the Scream 7 trailer is out now. There will be a ton more trailers and whatever else. I'm expecting to see something for Hoppers from Pixar. There'll probably be some teasers for some things coming over the summer. Like there'll probably be a Supergirl trailer. I don't know if we're getting a Masters of the Universe trailer. I hope we do. We saw all the action figures this week. So yeah, there's a lot of this should be a heavy pop culture week, especially as like we just did the Grammys. We're headed to the Super Bowl. The Olympics start this week. I think Friday is opening ceremonies. Oh yeah, Dave, I heard there was going to be a new Bud ad. The Clydesdales came back a couple years ago. I'm not sure if they're doing something with them or if they're shifting to a whole new campaign. And yes, Sherry, there is a Mando trailer. So
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, that's our big theatrical for the year. So, oh yeah, and Bad Bunny was on SNL with Pedro Pascal. So if you've seen SNL recently, in fact, they just announced Connor Story is going to be hosting SNL. From Heated Rivalry. So yeah, it's going to be, yeah. Oh my God. The Latina mom skit on SNL with Pedro and Bad Bunny is priceless. So that one's a really, really good one. Okay. I think we have we crammed in all that extra stuff in overtime. Thank you everyone for staying for us to talk about some general pop culture nonsense. Coming up this week, I just want to put up a couple things real quick. Where are all my graphics? Daughters of the Galaxy on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the legacy of Kathleen Kennedy, everything she's done, not just here at Star Wars, but across her entire career. It's like an incredible filmography. So very excited to see Sarah and Ashley talk all things Kathleen. We also have a new t-shirt out. So we talked about how at Rebel Scum Con, they announced some of the cast members from Fanboys, Dan Fogler and Sam Huntington. We have a new shirt that says "Friends Don't Let Friends Hawk the Trek." And of course, get ready for all things Texas. It's going to be like such a fun time. Boonta Eve and everything. And then VCN strikes back at Boonta Eve in Los Angeles for 2027. There's so much on the horizon. But this week for programming, here it is. This is what's coming up. So like I said, Daughters of the Galaxy on Wednesday. Tomorrow's our Zoom. I was able to make it to the Zoom last week for a little bit, which was really fun. That was a blast. Tomorrow night, I'm going to see a movie, though. We're going to see, oh my God, the one with the shipwreck, or the plane crash that leads to the shipwreck. It's a horror movie. I'll report back tomorrow or Wednesday. Thursday is the watch along with Fanboys, and Bobby and Kentucky from Rebel Scum Con are going to be there. We have a new Life at Lightspeed on Friday, and then a new Unifying Force on Sunday. So everyone, make sure you check those out. Skip, I think that's everything for tonight.
You got it. And a shout out to Lonnie because though we see her a lot on Tuesday, I don't think we see her too much on Monday.
Yeah, thanks for dropping in. Yes, Send Help. That's what it was. Sherry, how'd you figure that out? That's what I'm going to see. And Rachel McAdams is in that. And Dylan O'Brien, who is so cute. He's in a really awesome movie called Twinless, which, by the way, it's fucked up. Highly recommend. Yeah, but if you can make it to the
Rachel
Zoom, come on
McAdams. If
by.
I can gaze at Rachel McAdams for a couple hours, it's a good night.
She's gorgeous. Yeah, and she's going to be a killer in that movie. I think possibly literally. So we will find out. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight and for sticking around and talking all things Mortis. We will be back next week with the next episode in the arc, which is called The Altar of Mortis. So we will see you then. All right, good night, everyone.
Long live the Republic.
Hello there. Hi, I'm Mark Connell. I'm the Director of Programming at the Virtual Cantina Network, and I'm here with James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yes, I know that one well. I have the high ground if I do. Wait, yes. Thank you. Now I have the high ground. And you are watching Clone Wars Revisited. This is the show you're looking for.